All right, welcome back, guys. This is episode 4. We are Let's Have a Seance. I am Ruben.
I'm Fern.
And I'm Chelsea.
And today we're going a little bit, spookier than usual. We're going a little personal stories. We might have a little bit of Mexican urban legends mixed in there,
Some true crime.
Oh, some
crime. History. We got it all. So stick around.
I didn't know about that. True crime. That scares the shit out of me. Right now we got our microphones all in our face. This is hi, I'm Ruben, and this is my casting coach episode.
Yeah, so if you've been listening to the last couple episodes, this is the first one we're doing in an actual studio environment, so the quality will probably be a little bit better.
We all have our own microphones.
That as well. Yeah, so it's pretty nice being able to, actually talk.
Shout out FL Recordings.
FL Recordings.
FL Recordings, yeah.
No.
Shout out yourself.
Make a
Shout out yourself.
plug-in. A plug-in.
Okay, so
Shout
for
out
today's
your YouTube
episode,
or something.
for today's episode, we're going to be talking about personal ghost stories. Who wants to start it off?
I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
One of the first. Well, see, I have a bunch of stories, but so I'm gonna go back and forth with my personal stories and also stories that people have told me, mainly my mom.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, we can get my mom in here and tell her stories.
That's what's up.
She has a way of telling her stories that I think my mom is the reason why I am the way that I am.
So she's really good at telling stories like you are.
Thanks, man. but she got me into the whole creepy stuff, and since my mom has allegedly seen things, it created this whole I guess a mystique around it, where I was like, yeah, creepy shit's my thing. At a young age, I was like, yeah, I'm into that.
Creepy vibes.
So I would go to the libraries and I would always check. Those were the only books I would check out. Goosebumps and a lot of Texas urban legends and things like that.
Scary stories to tell in the dark.
That was my shit.
Watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre when you were a kid. You know you weren't supposed to. Why'd you watch it?
Oh, this is true. So, one of the first stories that stuck out to me when I was little that my mom had told me was my sister had been born. My sister's a little bit older than me.
How terrible.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, you just had to. And so, my sister was a baby. I'm not sure how old she was, maybe a couple of months. And my mom had heard my sister crying. So she went in to go and check on my sister, and she was just crying so hard that where it looked like she couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So she started turning colors, she went from red to purple, and she thought she was gonna pass out.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So my mom figures, she tries all these things, and she figures maybe I should try making her a bottle and see what happens. So she goes into I don't know, you gotta boil the bottles. I don't know how babies work, but she goes and does that. She warms up the milk, and then my sister stops crying. My mom doesn't notice it at first, and then finally she's just like, wait, what the hell happened? So she turns around, and when she turns around, my mom says that she saw this lady with no face and a long black dress all the way down to the floor, and the lady had her hair all the way down to the floor as well, and she had no face.
Hair goals.
Yeah, and she had no face, and she pointed at my mom, and
oof, I got goosebumps.
She didn't say anything. She just pointed at my mom all weird and shook her finger, and then that was it. It was more like the when I pictured it kind of like the monkey from Family Guy, where he just comes out of the closet and just
points.
Yeah.
That sounds.
I identify with that monkey a lot.
What was that show that we watched recently with Raul in it?
Bly Manor.
Bly Manor, yeah.
The Haunting of Bly Manor, or something like that.
That sounds a lot like the main villain ghost lady.
She's not a villain.
Oh yeah.
Is she a villain? I don't think she's a villain.
She's a villain to the people she's terrorizing. So
well, Isn't it because her daughter died or something?
I can't remember the story, but there is a reason why she stayed on the property and why she takes people. But to everyone else, she's just a ghost lady who terrorizes them.
Yeah, it
and
was
it
hers.
sounds kind of like in line with Ruben's thing, where like no facial features because they were.
Oh yeah, I forgot
were-
everyone in that show like loses their facial features.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
eventually
you've
they
been
fade
around
away.
for so long that the years and time wash away your, I guess, like your persona or who you are, and then you're just like a shell that's left
You're just
over.
an empty, angry ghost.
Yeah, so like sounds kind of like that. Like it's
So
weird.
what
it's
if,
weird.
right? Like, what if that's what happens? Like, if you do become a ghost or something?
But
You
what
just
if it?
stick around until you eventually like dissipate into nothing.
What if it depends on the circumstances of which you die? That determines if you have to stay as a
Well,
ghost.
yeah, that's definitely. I think that's like most people who have tragic deaths and stuff like that. There's not like paranormal activity around those
Yeah.
kinds of things. So
You're right. But that's what I'm saying. Like clearly, like it seems
or
seems
people
to be.
who just like aren't ready to move on
They're
or
like-
don't even know they died
they're
and stuff like that.
They're like, no, I'm not done living. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm staying in this
Very much how
goddamn.
I'm going to be.
staying in this burned hotel.
Yeah. Anyways, continue. Sorry for interrupting.
No,
you.
you're okay.
No.
And what's crazy about that story is that how do I put it? That story with the lady with no face, that wasn't the first time that my mom saw her. My mom says that had like seen her when she was younger. They were taking like a night drive. It was my grandpa, my grandma, and my uncle and my mom. They were driving by the San Fernando Cemetery that's by General McMullen.
Mhm.
And they were going down this one road, and at the time there was no street lights or whatever. So my grandpa was kind of like not flooring it, but he was going kind of fast.
Mhm.
And that in the distance, my grandma saw like somebody hunched over walking across the street. And I guess my grandpa didn't see it, and so my grandma yells out, "Wait, watch out," but in Spanish or something like that. And so basically and the lady, well, when they get close to the lady, the car beams are on the lady, and she's kind of like slouched over like a hunchback. And then that she looks at them, she turns to look at them, and the lady had her hair all the way down to the floor. Same thing, black dress, but she had no face. But this time, you could see her like her mouth come out,
Mhm.
and that they felt that she was looking at them, and that she made a loud whistle. And my mom says that it just went, but like it rang out like for a long time.
Oh.
Like when people do that whistle with their like lip, they pull their lip out and they're like, I don't know how they do it. They like suck in air or something. That really
Yeah.
loud whistle that like fucking rattles your brain.
And that even though they couldn't see the lips anymore, they could still hear it, to the point where my uncle covered his ears because that's how loud it was. And then that she stayed looking at them for a little bit, and then she just crossed the street. But when she got to where it should be a sidewalk, she disappeared. And that they never talked about. They just stayed quiet because they were quiet. Because they were scared. Sorry. And they got home, and I think after that they never talked about it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really strange. I mean, I feel like if I was in an event like that,
I wouldn't be able to shut up
I
about it.
I would be like, what the fuck was that? It almost seems like they were all like, let's pretend it didn't exist, or like it didn't happen. Let's just keep living our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, like back then, I guess nowadays we have more of like an acceptance of this kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like as the years go on, people are less tripped out by this kind of stuff, to the point where like people become like amateur ghost hunters and stuff. And like we've gone out to places looking for stuff as well. But I feel like maybe like even like 20 or 30 years ago, if people thought you were like haunted, they'd be like, nah, that's gonna come home with me if I talk about it or if I like acknowledge it. So they probably were just like, it didn't happen.
I have to cleanse the house every time Ruben leaves. I'm just kidding.
Burn sage.
There's people that tell me not to bring my Ouija board sometimes, I just carry it with me on the go like a phone.
That's crazy though. Like, so your mom has had multiple encounters with what she thinks is the same
Seeing things.
the same ghost.
Yeah,
You think your
definitely.
mom's haunted?
There
Do you
might
think
be.
that's why?
There's
Do
there's
you
a
think it
theory.
like it runs in your blood or something? Because it's not just you. It's your mom. It is your sister as well,
Yeah,
and
Hmm.
her
then
sister's
also
house has stuff too.
Precious as well.
Yeah, there's I don't know. We've all talked about it before, where we think that maybe we're just either sensitive to things or something. There is this one. I don't know
Y'all are all
if I can
brujas.
even talk about this. She played with the Ouija board one time,
Mm.
and
She forgot to say goodbye, didn't she?
I don't know, but
Oh.
she still has never really told me the story of what happened because I guess it scared her that bad. Yeah, and I mess around sometimes, and I'm like, hey, you should bust out that Ouija board. Can I play with it? I have mine, but yours would be better. And
So
she
she
gets
still
like kind
has
of,
it.
yeah.
She
It's either in my grandpa's house or somewhere in our little shed, but she still hasn't told me what happened.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe she had an experience. Maybe we can get your mom on the show one time.
Yeah.
Call her up. What's she doing right
Hey, Mom, come by.
now? But that's crazy. All right, so I guess let's all do one real quick,
Mhm.
and then like we can just keep going in like a circle.
I'm shy.
Okay. So I guess one of my ghost experiences, actually Ruben was there for it. It was this took place, I want to say like 2011, 2012, somewhere around then.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I had just graduated high school, and I think you guys were set to graduate that following year.
Mhm.
And we were staying at one of our close friends' house, and he had been known to have ghost experiences many times. He would occasionally tell us about them, or you, Ruben, would tell us about them, or like other mutual friends would be like, yeah, sometimes when we stay over there,
Some weird
it's
shit
kind
went
of
down.
weird. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Things kind of happen, and you can't really explain it other than like it must be haunted. So I was like, nah, this can't really be real. Like I had been over to this friend's house multiple times, like by that point over the years, and I had never really seen anything myself. But we decided to sit in the living room together with like a group of friends, and we turned off all the lights in the house and turned every electronic off just so it would be completely dark. And I remember just feeling like there was a heavy presence behind us because the couch was facing the back wall and the
Mhm.
entrance to the house was the back of the couch faced it. So we were looking ahead and we just kind of felt something weird behind us. So me and another friend turned around and we just felt like there was something sitting in the corner between the wall and the door kind of watching us. And we couldn't really explain it, but it felt like there was like a darker area in that corner compared to everything else in the room.
Oof, bad news.
And and at some point I remember seeing like a shadow kind of walk past the door because again the door
Seeing
what-
shadows in complete darkness.
like
It's
well no because
never-
like there was like a little glimmer of light coming from like the door
from Ruben's
Mhm.
room.
yeah, and from
Yeah.
Ruben's room because his window faced the same direction as the door, and the door, it was like kind of like the door in here where it doesn't seal all the way around, so
Mhm.
you can still have a little bit of light gap coming in. So that was really all we had, but we saw kind of like a shadow run across the door, but from the inside, not someone outside blocking the light. And we were like, "What was that?" Like,
I definitely would have ran out immediately.
yeah, I got freaked out because I think we were all supposed to stay there that
Yeah,
night.
you were supposed to stay because
And
you didn't
like,
believe us.
Fuck that!
I remember I was like, oh, I was gonna stay here with the intention of
Yeah.
like, hey, let's find something. And then the thing came to us like before it even got dark. I think it was like 5 or 6 o'clock
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
afternoon.
early in the day.
We were like the sun was setting, like it was still like not even like dark time hours. And if it was being that bold to come out, then we were like, I don't want to stick around for like late at night when it's like quiet and we're trying to
When
sleep.
it's
Yeah, Fernando was
full-
like, well,
full
I'm just gonna
force.
go home.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I drove everybody here, so I'm gonna start dropping people off.
Yeah, I
Oh, man.
remember that day. I think it was Joseph that had came with us. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, we have another friend named Ruben, so it was his house.
It was his house. Yeah, I didn't want to say his name for fear of like confusing the story with
Yeah.
like 2 Rubens being there at the same time. But yeah, this was our mutual friend Ruben's house,
Yeah.
which this Ruben currently was also
Hey.
present for the whole thing. I think it was you, me, our friend Joseph, and wasn't like
Your little
big
brother.
My little brother. No,
Mhm.
my little brother wasn't there.
Your little brother was there.
Maybe he was there. Wasn't Big Mike there too?
I
Or
wonder if
Renee?
your brother remembers anything
I
about it.
I don't think they were there,
I don't know.
but
I remember
yeah.
there was like 4 or 5 of us.
And I remember Joseph was the one that was like, "What is that?" And so we all looked over, and then that's when it was hunched over in the corner.
Yeah.
It was like squatting down, and then it stood up and it walked to Ruben's room.
Yeah. It was really weird. Like I was like, yeah, whatever. And then when that happened, I was like, I believe.
It's one thing to be out in the middle of nowhere and like be able to like run to your car and like leave,
Yeah.
but to be in a house with something that just like is a different level and not interested in
Yeah,
that.
I don't
Not
think he
interested
doesn't
in
live
that
there
happening.
anymore, right?
No.
Yeah, no, it was like a family second home. Like his grandparents had a big house up front, and they had built this like smaller house like in the back, and he lived there with his mom when we were growing up. But I don't know who lives there now, or if anybody lives there now. But I wonder.
I think it's still his family, but I wonder if they experience anything.
That's what I'm wondering, because Ruben had always told us about that stuff, but
Mhm.
I don't know. It's not like we were close to, or at least I wasn't. I wasn't like close to his mom or anything, so I would never like really asked her about any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. It feels like a weird thing to just ask a stranger, because then like, what if they just like are experiencing stuff and they just don't want to talk about it?
I have her number. I can call her right now.
Just call her up. We'll put her up on the podcast.
Like, hey.
Tell us about your ghost story.
Did you finish your story?
Yeah, I think I finished my story.
Okay.
It was. I mean, there was nothing else that really happened that day. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We do have a couple other small things to add, I guess, to that story, but we can do that after your story, because they're like technically like separate stories.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, my story is about a monument in East Texas that is dedicated to a massacre.
Ooh.
So it's called it's not Kilo, because that's what I always want to say. Kilo? Yeah, Kilo. It's the Kilo Monument, dedicated to the Kilo family who was massacred there by the Cherokee Indians.
And this is located where in Tyler, Texas?
This is in Jacksonville, Texas, pretty close to home, where I'm originally from. And the massacre took place on Friday, October 5th, 1838. The history behind it is interesting. The Kilo Massacre is believed to have been both the largest and last Native American attack on white settlers in East Texas. The massacre took place, like I said, on Friday, October 5th, 1838, near Larissa, north of Jacksonville, in the northwestern part of Cherokee County. There were 18 victims, who included Isaac Kilo Sr. and his extended family. Unaware, apparently, that the land made available to them was hotly disputed by the Cherokee Indians who lived in the area. Isaac Kilo and his homesteaders began clearing land for crops and building homes. Only a year earlier, however, the area surrounding their settlement had been set aside for the Cherokee under a treaty negotiated and signed by Sam Houston and John Forbes. When the Republic of Texas Senate refused to ratify the treaty and then, in December 1838, formally nullified it, the Cherokee, who already thought they had conceded enough, became extremely agitated. The immediate and increasing influx of Anglo settlers into lands thought to have been theirs did nothing to quell Cherokee resentment. Fearing this growing unrest, Kilo, with his relatives and friends, fled for refuge. On condition they would leave the area after doing so, the Cherokee leaders agreed to their safe passage if they would return simply to harvest their crops. They did so, but on October 5th, 1838, a band of Cherokee who had not been party to the agreement attacked the settlement. Most of the Kilo group, a total of 18, were killed or abducted as they worked their fields. 8 settlers, including 7 women and children, were seized by warriors and carried into the forest. They were never seen or heard of again. So a stone obelisk commemorating the event was erected in the 1930s, and a historical marker was dedicated in 1965. So it's a really old monument.
Man, that massacre sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's basically this giant stone obelisk, and around it are all the people who were killed there, buried. So around the entire base of this obelisk are graves with little headstones, and, well, I don't even know if there's any headstones left. A lot of people like go there and do some weird shit, like some culty shit, and also there's, those people who go and just to like tear everything up and like break stuff and
Yeah.
be disrespectful. But yeah, so I would go there. Man, I went there a lot with my friends. There's not a lot to do in like small towns like that or anything, so we would just go out there and sit and try to see if anything happened. First of all, it's really hard to find. It's very confusing because it's just a lot of like farm to market roads. I got like lost trying to get there several times. But once you get there, there's like no cell service.
Mm-hmm.
There is a gate, and you drive down this narrow road with long grass on either side. And then you go around like a little bend. And then there's like a parking lot in front of the monument. With all of the graves or whatever. It's not very well manicured or anything like that. But yeah, the atmosphere out there is definitely spooky because it's literally pitch black. There's no lights at all. You can just hear all of the stray dogs and everything like howling and stuff. So that is like really scary as well.
Just the general environment.
Yeah.
How big is the obelisk?
It's pretty big.
It's maybe like 10 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like probably like 10 or 12 feet tall.
Something
and
like
then
that.
it's like it's pretty wide at the base as well.
Yeah, it's like it's basically like think pyramid, like Egyptian pyramid kind of thing. But not as wide of the base. It's almost a mix of a pyramid and like the Washington Monument kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were saying that some people say that if you look down there, you can see.
Oh yeah,
hell or something like that.
it was like a little story or whatever that people would say if you look down the hole at the very top or whatever, you can see into hell.
Okay, so it does look like a pyramid.
Yeah, so imagine like a very tall, slender pyramid, and it's just like 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
And in the middle of a very abandoned forest. Yeah, so there was grave sites and
I
stone.
mean, if you can even really call them graves, because it literally looks like just like a pile of rocks and like a little headstone.
You're giving me Joe Rogan's Jamie's vibes right now. Jamie, can you pull that up real quick?
But yeah, so me and my friends would go out there, and I didn't particularly like going with my friends, just because I felt like they didn't really take it seriously, and I was out there trying to be a paranormal investigator, if you will.
Okay.
And they were just
loud teenagers.
it was impossible because they do the thing where they amp you up and be like, oh my god, did you see that, or like so I didn't necessarily like going with them because it would be more than just like a few people.
Yeah.
So over the years I would take like one of my friends to go with me. I think I even took my stepmom once. Because she's really into like historical stuff. So I took her there.
So did you ever have any like kind of experience out there?
I mean, you definitely feel like people are watching you from the trees when you like go and sit out there. And I've even like stared into like the pitch black forest, and it looks like people are. I'm getting scared like talking about it now. It looks like people are peeking at you like from behind trees, like almost.
That's spooky.
Ready to like run up on you or something. Like it's a very, I don't know how to describe the atmosphere. It's like very
heavy,
foreboding, and like
thick.
Like you feel like something bad is going to happen. Like you shouldn't be there. And then also you'll be sitting there listening because everything is like dead quiet as long as your friends aren't fucking talking and shit. Like mine were a lot of the time. You would hear stuff moving around in the forest. You would just like hear stuff, and I don't know if it was like little critters and stuff because it really is like
it's in the middle of a forest.
It's in the boonies, for real.
Man, I haven't heard that word in forever.
But
The
anyways,
boonies.
like I've actually run into some little paranormal investigators out there, and they played back a recording that they had just taken when we like showed up, and it was some crazy like sounding. Almost like a drill, but not a power tool or anything.
Like a high-pitched scream or something?
I don't know what it was, but it was really weird.
Scary. Yeah, I've been there. You took me there once when we first started dating, and I just remember the area definitely felt heavy.
It's so scary, like driving to it too.
I thought you were going to murder me.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
he really did.
This was like date 2,
Date 2? That was
This
your
was like
second
date
date?
2. And she was like, yeah, let me take you to this place. It's like pretty cool. It's like haunted. And we had been talking about it for a couple weeks, like leading up to it. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like I go with you guys to places and stuff. So
Yeah.
I was like, let's go. We're going, and it's just like all these winding roads with no one else around. We're the only car for miles and miles, and we're just going deeper and deeper into the forest. And I'm like, I knew
This
I
is
should.
it.
I was like, I knew I shouldn't have come up here. I was like, she's gonna murder me
You were
and leave my
probably
body in
checking
the
your
forest.
phone to see if you could like text someone, and you're like, "Oh shit, I don't have cell service."
I was like, man, she's gonna murder me or poison me or something, or she's gonna sacrifice me to whatever she's taking. I was like, yeah, sure. There's a monument out here, huh? Yeah. And then like 30 seconds later, she pulled up to it because I think we got lost for a little bit as well. Like you were trying to remember
Yeah,
how to get there because it's pretty confusing.
it's really confusing.
Especially like in the middle of the night and like she said, with no cell service, like your GPS just
It's like
starts to slow down and gets off track
you
after a
have
while.
the one sign on the main highway that points you to like it's down this road, but there's not really any more.
There's no indication after
Yeah.
that. Yeah. It's like just a bunch of empty roads and they all kind of look the same because they're all just in the forest. So
Mhm.
it's very easy to get tripped up. But I remember getting there, being a little creeped out. The forest itself didn't creep me out so much, but the monument itself felt weird. I remember we walked up to it and we're like, it was really cold out that night too. And the monument felt even colder. Like I touched it and it was like
Yeah.
like it was gonna freeze my hand if I left my hand there, which might
I
be
mean,
normal
it
for a
is-
stone
yeah,
like
a
that.
stone,
It
but-
might be normal for a stone like that, but it also just like gave
It-
off kind of like a weird vibe. So I was
It
like,
does feel colder.
like it felt like a presence rather than
Yeah.
like a construct. Rats is I guess what I'm trying to say. And that was really about it. She told me that like if you look down the center of it, you could see. They say you can see hell if you
Yeah,
like
I
get
saw
up on top of it. But again, this thing's like 10 or 12
I don't
feet
even
tall.
know how anyone would get up there. So it's like,
Daring.
who said that? Who made that up? But usually, like going out there is accustomed by a lot of fog, and it's just generally very creepy. And then my friends have also told me stories of like their friends going out there and like getting in the car to leave, and then the car dying
Oh, wow.
essentially,
That sucks.
and then like the electric locks on the door and stuff going off and on, and
That's gotta be the worst place for your
Stuff
car
like
to
that.
die,
In the
especially
middle
when,
of a forest.
especially with like no service.
Yeah,
and
no
stuff.
service either.
and
That's the
like it's
scariest
not
thing.
the type of place that you could like go to the neighbors. Like no, if you go
There's
on
nothing
anyone's
around.
if you go on anyone's land, you're probably gonna get shot out there.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of place that it is. Honestly, I would not be surprised if there were still like lingering spirits.
Oh yeah, I always feel like the energy too, like of whatever happened, keeps
Yeah, it
or
stays.
makes
Yeah.
like spirits there and stuff.
It's just like that weird thing of like I feel like you can cultivate good and bad energy in places, and the bad energy is just a lot more present because a lot of unfortunate things happen to a lot of people like all over the world. So it's a lot easier to get a bad energy spot rather than a good energy spot. But
Mhm.
all like that initial experience like back in like at Ruben's house
Mhm.
was what like made me think like, oh, okay, so like
This is where demons
like,
are.
this is where demons like demons are real. No, but like that like a negative energy environment can be created, but if you let it, it can get worse. And I don't know, Ruben, if you want to talk about that one story where you stayed over at his house that one night.
Oh, I have several stories from
Yeah,
that place.
so Ruben will probably do this one better justice than I will.
Well, that place was ugly. But speaking of like bad or negative energies, Ruben's place, the front house, his grandparents' house,
Uh-huh.
was apparently the general's house from the Battle of Lanier.
Oh.
So all that area was like, Lanier and all that area is pretty much where warfare went down.
Yeah.
So I think that's why his place was just that had so much activity and things like that.
Yeah.
When I had my first experience at Ruben's house, I believe it just started off with little things moving. You can hear stuff, doors slamming. But there was a point of time, I think it was junior year, where me and a couple of friends, we basically lived with Ruben for like the entire summer. I stayed with him more, so I would see things more. And I remember he would bring it up, like you said, he would bring it up, and at first I was like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then bullshit turned into, oh fuck, oh, holy shit. And then so one of the things that sticks out, one of the things that happened that sticks out was one time we were making like milkshakes. It was out of banana
Yeah,
milkshakes.
we were trying to bring the boys.
Yeah, I love them too. And we were waiting for two of our friends to come home from work. One ended up calling us and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be there in a little bit. Just unlock the door," or something like that. And so we're like, "Okay, we're not gonna unlock the door, but all right."
Yeah. Like, you can fucking knock.
Yeah. So
To be fair, though, the house is like on a sketchy side of town where a lot of people just kind of walk the streets. So
no, yeah.
leaving the door open is you're kind of just inviting people in at that point.
Yeah, we don't have that type of neighborhoods around here. And so, well, his name's David. David ends up telling us, "Hey, I'm getting closer," and we're like, "Okay." So then, a couple like minutes pass by, and I hear a honk, and then I stand up and to go open the door, but then Ruben stands up at the same time. I said, "Did you hear a honk?" And he goes, "No, I heard David actually say, 'Hey guys, I'm outside.'"
Huh?
Yeah, as fake as that sounds, he heard,
Like,
"Hey guys."
both of you heard two different things.
Yeah, two different things. I never heard David. I heard the honk. And I was like, okay, maybe, I didn't hear it because of the honk.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I told him, "No, I heard a honk," and he was like, "I didn't hear a honk." And I was like, "It was loud as hell. How do you not hear a honk?" And he was like, "I didn't hear anything." So I go and I open the door, and Ruben's behind me. There's no car in front. And we're like, okay. So we look to the side. There's still no car. Ruben even went the extra mile and walked all the way. He had a long driveway, so he walked kind of like halfway through his driveway. Still no car outside of the gate. So he's like, "Well, there's nothing." So he comes back, and we're just like, all right. So we continue making our milkshakes. At the time, Ruben had this little dog that he shared with his, at the time, girlfriend. His name was Shadow. And so that time we were expecting David to still show up. David never showed up that night. Instead of showing up at the time that he said he was going to be there.
Yeah.
Our other friend, Renee, shows up from work, and he goes straight to the bed, I think. We're still in the kitchen. We're just still making random snacks. And then all of a sudden we just hear, "Rah!" But it sounded exactly like Shadow. I look down and like I just see like a little like silhouette of something that just ran by. And I was like, "Hey, I thought Shadow stayed with Jen." And then he was like, it did. And, and I was like, "You heard that, right?" He's like, "Yep. And so we rushed to the room that Renee was sleeping in, and we told him that like everything that we saw and heard and stuff, and then we told him the thing about David, and he still looked like he was like kind of like just waking up because we had woken him up, and then we didn't get a reaction out of him, so we're just like, "Oh, fuck it," and we just closed the door and left. He comes out and he's like, "Why you gonna tell me some scary shit? Like wake me up just to tell me that and just leave."
Me.
And then we're like, "Oh, sorry."
You assholes.
So he comes and sits down with us for a while, and we stayed there just watching TV. David eventually shows up around like 2 or 3, and then we all go to bed. At night, at that time I had an old Android phone, and my charger had like a little green light. So we're all asleep in one room, and this room's like huge. It was big. Like he had his drum set in there, and it was still huge. And so with my little green light, David and Renee fell asleep, but me and Ruben were still awake. And with my little green light, you could see the shadow of Shadow just walking by in the room. You could see like a little dog just walking by. Ruben fell asleep after that because he got so scared that he told me that he was just going to go to sleep.
I'd rather just not be around.
He's like, "Fuck it,
Basically.
I'm gonna be asleep if they take me, so peace out."
And so I couldn't sleep. And so I start seeing that shadow still walking around every now and then, but it starts getting bigger.
It's trying to lull you into a false sense of security because it's just a dog, but I think it was something manifesting itself as the dog because obviously you're gonna be less scared of it.
That's true. And then so, the shadow got bigger. Eventually it formed into something. I just couldn't tell what it was, but I saw the shadow. It looked like kind of coming towards me, but not really. So I got scared and I kind of yelled, not too loud, but I kind of yelled, and Ruben woke up and it was like, just chill or whatever. You want to go outside or something? And I was like, no. Then eventually we just all fell asleep.
I don't know how y'all could even go to sleep.
There was just
I would never sleep again.
You watch movies and you like scary movies and you wonder like sometimes like how the hell did they go to sleep through all that?
Yeah.
Like,
it's pretty easy when you're
mental
tired.
exhaustion.
and
Pretty
then
easy
you
when
just
you're
do it.
tired.
It's just
Or
mental
just scared where
exhaustion.
you're just like, I just want this shit to end.
Yeah.
Just to shut my eyes. I just want to shut
You're
my
just-
brain off.
I guess because you're by logic, you're like, I'll just close my eyes and then time will pass and then it'll be morning and I'll be safe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, what else are you supposed to do in that scenario? It's like you're supposed to play with this little shadow dog, whose name is also Shadow. It's like, what else are you supposed to do besides like feed into it and maybe make it worse?
Yeah.
I can't cleanse the spirit myself, so I'm just gonna go to bed.
And then there was just like little things here and there that would happen, but it was to the point where I knew, and I guess we all kind of knew that shit happens here. And still after that, I continued to stay there.
Yeah.
Again, I was still there the whole summer. The scariest thing that happened to me there that really messed with me was it's still weird to talk about, but Ruben had band practice. I'm not sure where Renee and the rest of the guys went, but they left, and I remember Ruben woke me up. It was early in the morning. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to band practice." He's like, "Just if somebody comes, it's probably more than likely my brother." And I said, "Oh, okay." Then I went back to sleep. I woke up maybe around like 11ish in the morning, and I had to use the restroom. So I got up and I went walking to the restroom. And when you're walking to the restroom, to the left side of you is another bedroom where his brother would stay. The door is wide open, and as I'm walking to the restroom, I see a silhouette of a shadow just sitting at the end of the bed, kind of looking out to where the door is, but I couldn't see who it was, but I just assumed it was his brother because Ruben said that his brother was coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the restroom, come back out. I look to the side, in that room, nobody's there. It was like, okay, maybe he's laying down and I just can't see him because it was dark in there. I kept going to the room. I'm laying down, and on the side of the bed, he had this long mirror. And as I'm looking, I'm facing that mirror, and behind me, you can see through the mirror like his drum set and basically his air conditioner, everything that was back there. And he had this one, like a, what do you call it? Like a music stand where you put the booklet.
Where you
or
put the music down. Yeah.
And under that music stand was a man. He was just in his underwear. It was an old man. He was squatting down, holding onto it, and just looking at me. No expression, just straight looking at me, but he looked pissed. And I got so scared that I started crying, and I called my friend Jordan. The whole time she's just like, "Oh, slow down. I can't hear what you're saying." And I'm freaking out because I'm still there on the bed just looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looking at me. And then eventually, like, she's just like, "Well, get out of there." And I was like, okay.
What are you doing?
And then so I ran, and I had to run past it. And you would think like, okay, I'm going to turn around and nothing's going to be there. But no, I turned around, it's still there. And you have to walk past that music stand to get to the door. So I passed it, and as I'm passing it, his head's just following me, just watching me.
Ugh.
You would think it was an actual just naked man there.
Yeah.
Like, it just looked so real. I couldn't see through him. He was there. And so I went outside and I stayed there. I was crying. I was still talking to her. And then eventually I stayed out there for a good while until I hung up with her because I just didn't want to keep her on the phone that long. I waited till Ruben got home, and then I told him everything, and I was still kind of shooken up about it. And he was like, "All right, well, you can start going with me to band practice and stuff." And it's like, "Nah, I don't want to do that. Who wants to go to band practice? I'd rather stick with the ghost." But yeah, little shit like that. I mean, not little shit, but
What
shit
did
like
he
that
ever
happened.
say about that scenario? Like, did he ever have an experience like that as well?
Not with. He did see a man, but he wasn't like in his underwear.
Mm.
He used to see a man come out of his closet, and he would always tell us about stories that when he was younger, he would see things like coming out of his closet.
Maybe his closet is a gateway.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I remember you've told me the old man story before, and that one still just trips me out because in every other case we've only ever seen like figments
I
or
was ready
shadows.
for that old man to grab the shit out of you, Ruben,
Like,
and be
we-
like, "You're coming with me."
Like we've only ever seen like what we think are ghosts. You know what I mean? But that was one experience that you told me about where you were like, I saw an old man in his underwear. Like not a shadow thing like in the corner like with the other story or like doors and things swinging open and slamming shut. Like you saw something in your sleep or not even in your sleep while you were trying to sleep. And then you have two different people that could back up that story as well. One, Jordan, who was on the phone with you while it was happening,
Mhm.
and then the other, Ruben, who you told that same night and who knows about all that stuff that is going on in his house. So it's a very trippy environment to grow up in.
What's crazy too is that I think that because when I was younger and stuff, I used to experience things here and there, but then there was just a moment of time where I never experienced anything for a while, and then I get to I'm not gonna put the blame on his house, but when I got to that house and I started experiencing stuff there, I felt like it opened up a door to where now I still experience stuff, or shit, maybe I'm just traumatized and I still think I see stuff. But yeah, that house was just, it fucked me up. It was crazy. I don't know how Ruben still went through and lived there.
I don't know.
I remember even one time, we went to Jordan's house because we used to hang out with her a lot, and we went to go to her mom's room to tell her hi because we had just gotten there.
Mhm.
It was just me and Ruben. We got there. We went straight to the room. We were telling her hi, and as we're talking to her, Ruben grabs my shoulder or my arm, and he's like, you see it, right?" And I was like, "Where?" And he's like, "In her closet." And so I'm looking straight into the closet.
Oh.
There was nothing there. There was nothing looking at me or anything. And I was like, "I don't see anything." He's like, "It's right there. Just, you could see its eyes. You could see its eyes." And I was like, "Well, what does it look like?" And he's like, "It's an old man. It's an old man." And eventually, like he's talking like low, so that way I guess the mom and nobody would think he's
Yeah.
crazy. And I was like, "I don't see anything, Ruben." And then he was like, "It's fucking right there." And he just like booked it out. And he went outside and he started crying. And then I went and tried to comfort him and stuff. And he was just like, "I'm not crazy." He's like, "I know I saw an old man in there." And I was like, "I saw an old man too, man. Maybe should you bring your old man around and shit."
Yeah, maybe we've had it wrong this whole time. Maybe Ruben is the one that's haunted.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
Well, I think it's like it can attach onto people.
That's, yeah.
The runtime on this episode has been pretty good. I think if we have any more ghost stories, I think we should save this for a part 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe
man.
maybe next time.
I felt like I rambled on for fucking ever.
No.
But yeah, it's just I think we should definitely do another one of these personal
Yeah.
personal ghost story podcast. I think we should definitely do another one. And then maybe next time bring in like a guest who, like one of our friends like Ruben or something, that way he can discuss a little bit more in depth on like his own experiences kind of living in that place. And then I know you have other ghost stories as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then Precious, your niece, also has
Oh, yeah.
a couple ghost stories as well. So who knows? Maybe we'll come back with a whole new fresh set of stories. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you
Thanks
enjoyed.
for listening to our stories.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that.
Hope you guys liked it, guys. Bye.
Bye. We'll see
Bye.
you guys in the next episode.